Right. Okay. So welcome everybody to the Leadership Journal. And today we're going to be interviewing Mei Yen. And this is a series of best bosses out there. So they say that a great boss is hard to find, difficult to leave, and impossible to forget. So today we're going to be, we joined here with Mei Yen.
Hello, everyone. My name is Mei Yen. Hi.
Yeah, and we're going to be hearing from her some of the leadership lessons that we can learn based on her experience. Okay. All right. Okay. So first and foremost, Mian, one of the things we want to talk about today is Sarah, right? Sarah is one of your team members last time. And I have a surprise for you. I'm going to be sharing with you something and let's hear from it for a while. Is that okay?
Sure.
All right.
I think that one particular scenario that left a very deep impression in me was when she noticed a team member acting very, what's that word? Like, he would come to me, he would slam the files on my desk, and he would request. Initially, the request was that I do part of the work. And as a teammate, I feel that, if I have additional time on hand, I would gladly help him out. But Mei Yen noticed that my work seemed to be unfinished all the time. I'm always busy. So when she came over to my desk and asked me, how come I'm unable to, why am I always looking very busy? So she noticed that the work that she had given to my teammate was given to me instead, was passed on to me. So she actually told our teammate that, hey, you're supposed to do your own and Sarah has her own work to do. I think that made my teammate very upset. So from then on, he would come over to my desk consistently, speak very rudely to me, slam the files on my desk. And it's an open concept office space. So everybody could kind of see what he was doing to me, but no one asked him why or asked him to stop. I think on the fourth day, I couldn't take it anymore because, I come to work very anxious. When he did it again, I ran straight to the toilet. A couple of minutes later, Mei Yen followed in. And then she called out to me and asked me, are you okay? That was when I couldn't hold it in anymore and I burst out crying and I told her what happened. I think with many bosses, they wouldn't stand in and ask what happened as long as the work gets done. So if we meet the deadline and all work is done, I guess that's the end of story. What happened between the team, between colleagues would stay between colleagues. You just need to manage it yourself. However, with someone at such a senior position coming down to me and saying that, hey, I noticed something is wrong. Would you like to tell me what is wrong? I would like to help you out. I felt that it's not something which a lot of people would experience, especially when I share my cases with a lot of my friends who've been outside the workforce for many, many years, and none of them said that their boss was like mine. So I felt that I was truly very blessed to have met someone like Mei Yen, that, she stood in and she tried to make sure that her team works well together and to find out what was the core issue that's causing probably some disgruntled emotions. I think I would describe her as someone who's very understanding. She's very kind and definitely very nurturing. For the amount of help that she's helped me when I first started out on the job, she was very patient. Mei Yen, you might not think that you've had an impact on me, but every time I think back on it, I still feel very touched, feel very grateful that you were there for me. And it's made me, I've learned a lot from you basically. So the way I treat my employees, I have to say I'm very much influenced by you as well.
That brings me to tears.
All right. Oh, wow. Yeah, that was amazing. Right.
That's very touching, actually. Oh, now I've got tears in my eyes.
Yeah. I think the whole idea is that this whole idea of bosses is that really difficult to forget, right? And I just want to ask you, what on earth do you do? Why did you have such a big impact in her life? What do you think that you did differently for her?
For me, I think, to be honest, I treat every one of my staff in the same way, right? And I always feel that in a team where we work in, everybody needs to play a part, and everybody needs to respect each other. You can't be saying harsh words to people, doing harsh actions, and be respectful of everybody's work and respectful of everybody's opinions and views. And that to me is actually very, very important. And that's one of the key things I think, we all need to have in a team. And I think the other key thing I have is thing I need my team to always have is the empathy for each other. That's why I always tell them, it's not about me, it's not about you, it's about us, it's about think win-win as an organization, not even a department, as an organization. How can you help the organization to grow, right? And put yourself in other people's shoes. So before you do certain things, before you say something, before you act on something, put yourself in other shoes and think about how the actions and how the words will hurt other people, how they affect other people, and what results will it bring. Does it bring positive results? If it doesn't bring positive results, maybe don't need to do it, Yeah. So I think those are the things I always encourage them to do. It's not just about you or me, it's really about us. And it really is not just about our team, So I actually encourage them to also think of people in other people's department. When people come to you with a piece of challenge, with some work or some problems, or even if they don't come to you, but you just see them having an issue, just don't be afraid to just step out and ask them, is there anything that can help you? So that's what I sort of encourage in my team, to think beyond themselves. And I'm someone who always lead by example. So when I expect my team to be doing such things, I need to be demonstrating the values and the attitudes as well. And so that's why I sort of very proactively demonstrate this, so that it sort of is reflected in whatever I do, whether it's for my team or my peers, my bosses, my stakeholders, right? So that's that's how I sort of convince them that this is who I am, and and this is why I would encourage you to also do this as well.
Man, you are. I feel that really you were touched by what Sarah said just now.
Yes,
So,
I am. Yeah, you can hear that.
Yeah, I can hear.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think for us it's really this whole idea of being respectful and honorable to the bosses that we have had, and then also to just thank them. And that's the reason why we came up with this, is to sometimes I think you go through being a leader and all that, and sometimes we don't see the fruits, and we don't know that actually after so many years it still has a very deep impact. And then she still remembers of all the people I ask her, it's you. Yeah, so it's amazing. And I just want to find out, because there's one thing about leadership, and this is quite interesting, right? There are two pillars. One is results, and then one is relationships, right? Some people overweight on one side.
Yeah.
I want to hear your views on that. Results and relationships. Is it what is the importance like? How do you actually view these two?
I actually think that leadership is really all about results, right? That's what everyone says. But you won't have results if you don't have good relationship. Yeah. So I think results will resolve on its own if you have good relationship. And good relationship to me means authentic relationship. So you have to be authentic to people. Like what you see here, what it is.
Yeah, I'm actually tearing as well.
You won't see me like this in front of you, and another me in front of another person B, another me in front of person C. Right? And to me, that is very important. Authentic relationships build trust. It builds connection, right? And then it also then encourages you to be courageous enough to do things. Yeah. Because you've got the trust of people, right? Because you're so authentic, people know who you are, and they know what you can take and what you can't take, and they can then use that to help you, or to tell you something honestly as well. So to me, I believe in authenticity and honesty, because only when people give me feedback, honest feedback about what I can do better, what I've not done well, then that's the way I can create results, right? And results is not just about one person, right? It's about a whole team, which is why that relationship is very important. The authentic relationship that you build with not just your team, but your stakeholders, your bosses, your peers, your clients. I remember when I was back in Manulife, right? I've got a few service providers who's in operation. So we have a lot of service providers. So one of the service providers said something that really also sticks to me. And he told me, you're one of those clients who don't scold me, even though I made mistakes.
Okay, one of those. So majority of the partners they work with scold him.
Yeah, because
No.
whenever there's a mistake that is made by the service provider, what he says the client do is pick up a phone and started scolding them,
Oh, wow.
And so he said that he felt so appreciative because I will pick up the phone, I will tell them, okay, by the way, this is what I noticed. There seems to be a mistake here. So can you help to explain what went wrong? So then I sort of didn't come in with a very harsh attitude. I still want to know what's happening. I still want to know what went wrong. And then I would tell him, okay, what are the solutions you have? How do you prevent this from happening? Or how do you resolve this? And how long does it take? So it's all these very factual things. And then whenever he said, oh, it's going to be challenging because of certain things, I will be very understanding. And so he said he was very appreciative to this. And so that's why I think, that's also about relationship, right? And because of that, he was very willing to do a lot of things for us. Whenever we request for certain things, I'm sure we're one of those that he will go all out to do for us. So that helps to create results. So to me, relationship is the key to results.
So Mei Yen, we're actually talking a lot about other people and the team and all that. But how about the leader? Is there anything that the leader should be doing themselves?
Yes, because our own internal experience, and the processes that's going on inside our brain and our body have just direct impact on our actions, our behavior, right, and our performance. And so when we talk about leadership, it's defined by results, right? So what matters most is whether we can manage ourselves. If we can't manage ourselves, how do we manage other people? So for me, I always think of, okay, what do you put in this network? So whatever you put in will get back to you one day. So if you're angry with someone and you said, I'm surprised and concerned, that this mistake. So is there something that I can do to help you? Or would you like to explain what went wrong? Rather than, you come in and then you started scolding them. Yeah. That will have totally different implication. But what we have done there is just to manage ourselves. Manage our emotions and not let our emotions take control of ourselves, because really more than 90% of our time we're on autopilot. So if I'm not mindful of the anger that's coming to me, what happens is the words will come up from my mouth and the behaviors will come out and then I'll regret later. So what is most important is really to master this ourselves. I would say it's just self-mastery, right? It's to master the ability to manage ourselves and to regulate ourselves.
Fantastic. So it's really about this idea of self-awareness, and there's this psychological analogy when it comes to emotions, and this is interesting. There's this idea of the elephant and the rider. So there are two parts, right? So the rider is logic, but once the elephant takes over, when the emotions take over, and the elephant and the rider gets kicked off, the things we say we can never take back, and it's always about regret.
Yeah. Yes, yeah. So that's why being aware of your emotions, being aware of your thoughts as well. It's not just your emotions. Actually, a lot of times it starts to manifest in your mind already, right? So being aware of what are the thoughts going through in your mind before you even start to act or start to speak. Those are very important in our own self-management. And that's what we call our own self-transformation. You want to transform someone else, transform a company, you need to transform ourselves first and make sure that we can manage ourselves, right? We're totally in control of ourselves. And so that takes actually a lot of effort and a lot of discipline. And it takes a lot of practice. I will have to say that even though I've been saying that to myself, I'm still a work in progress.
Yeah. Wow, fantastic. Thank you. Something I really believe in when it comes to people voting for their best boss, which Sarah has voted that you are. It's not really about, when they think about it, it's not really about, was I able to hit the quarters numbers, right? It's always about, actually, does my boss care for me? Does my boss really genuinely care for me? And that's one of the times when that they will say that, if a boss really cares for me genuinely, then I would feel that actually that helps me to remember that boss is one of my best boss.
Yeah.
Right. So if I were to ask you, interesting that you said about results actually comes from that relationships. Where do you get this from actually? Is it like since young, or is it like your own manager, or where did it come from?
Oh, that's a tough question.
Yeah, because you know why? Most of the times, if for leaders, it's always about results, right?
Yeah.
Get your numbers. Even when I coach some of the leaders, they will say that, oh, their own supervisors say don't get so close to them. You get too close, you get emotional, then it clouds your judgment. So it's actually sometimes negative. But then you, on the other hand, actually you see that as a positive thing. So where did it come from?
I guess I'm always a people person since I was young. So it's probably part of my personality as well, that I always like to build relationship with people. I like to make friends. I like to know people who are different from me. I've been volunteering since I was not that young. I mean, I started volunteering maybe after I graduated from university. And I think those experiences really opened me up. It's not the work that I do, but it's really the volunteering experiences where I see people who are very different from me, people who, but yet I learned so much from them. So that's where I then felt that, okay, I think it's you learn from people, and it's from all people from all walks of life. It's not just from people who are of a certain status, from a certain status. No, right? Yeah. So you learn from everyone. And to me, those relationships that I've built with this variety of people sort of helps me to form a belief of who I am and what I see I am. A vision of who I am and how I want people to see me. Because as I said, I'm a person who is very transparent, right? You see me as who I am. And that probably comes from all these experiences over the years where I've seen how people behaving differently in front of different people. And I always thought this is not good, right? In fact, there was one time when I spoke to one of my bosses and said that I noticed you said different things in front of me and in front of your bosses. I'm someone who's very direct.
That's very dangerous. It sounds dangerous.
That's because I've built a relationship with someone. So I always make sure that I build good enough relationship as the buffer so that I can be as open as I can with the person. Because I believe in open communication. I don't like to withhold my thoughts and my feelings and then have all those things inside my head all the time. And then you form all these biases and judgments before you even speak to someone, right? So for me, I like to be open to the person. If I have something in my mind and I just want to find out why. And at the time I was still young. I was just fresh from university. So then, with all the volunteer work and speaking with everyone and learning from experiences, and I come back to the office and I was like, okay, why is this person like that? Shouldn't you treat everyone the same way? So then he told me, that's because you're still young. When you reach my level, you know that you have to do that. You can't afford not to do that because you need that to survive in an organization. So I thought to myself, no, I'm going to prove him wrong. So I will have to stay. I want to stay authentic in all my life, whether it's for personal or whether it's for my professional life. And I have to say, I can proudly say that after more than 20 over years in the corporate world, even when I was, head of whatever department, I still remain authentic and people see the same person, whoever they are. And I think I'm proud of it to be able to maintain that for all my years in the professional world.
Awesome. So the whole idea of volunteering is something that's really this idea that we want to be able to give to somebody without any form of return. So that's almost like a muscle in a human being, right? And a lot of times, I think I heard one of the leaders in Singapore was sharing that actually volunteer work doesn't help that person as much as it also helps you because it changes something up here.
It changes the perspective. Like I said, a psychologically rich life, right? So it gives you it really gives me different perspective. Otherwise, I find, I think I'm quite privileged. I've always been in privileged schools, and so my circle of friends are people who are probably in the upper class of the society.
Okay.
I don't really have much of a chance. I'm not a very rich family, but still, because of the schools that you go to, you tend to hang around with a certain group of people who are doing very well in their career. And so I felt at that point that this is not about the society. This must be very different from how the society really is. And so when I started volunteering and when I start to see people all over the world and all over Singapore, different walks of life, then I realized this is what the society truly is. And I was just living in the small little world of mine, which is so different from everyone else. And that builds a lot of empathy. Right. And then I become more empathetic towards other people. And then I become more mindful of really my actions and what I do and what I say, right? Whether it's to the beneficiaries or whether it's to my staff or whether it's to my bosses. Yeah. So I think that really sort of shapes a lot of my beliefs subsequently.
Fantastic. You share about two things, really about authenticity. That means you are who you are everywhere you go. And the second thing is the empathy, really feeling for them that your actions and words actually come across as either a positive or negative impact.
Yeah.
So, and I want to understand from you, you said one thing that's quite interesting. We built a relationship so that we have that buffer to get transparency. And a lot of times transparency is not there in the workplace. A lot of times there's gossip, there's backstabbing behind people's back and all that. So do you feel that relationships is something that that helps to overcome that? Does relationship bring transparency?
I think you can't control what people say, what people do. Even if I try to build an authentic relationship, I try to establish a deep relationship, I can't control what this person may say about me in front of other people. But I think for me, as long as I've done whatever I can, and I'm true to myself.
Yeah.
And I know that whatever I tell you, whatever I share with you, it's really what I really think, and you won't be able to find me saying other things about you. That's what a lot of people say. I compliment you in front of you, right? And I go to someone else and I'll bitch about you.
Yeah. That's corporate world.
That is so common. And eventually what I do is that I actually told some of these people, why don't you go up to the person and just tell them, give them an honest feedback. Because I think they will do a lot better to hear from you. And a lot of times I tell them it could be misunderstanding. You only saw that particular event or the particular episode, and that's how we are. Okay, I've been quite into mindfulness. I don't know whether you know about mindfulness. So in mindfulness, they talk about ruminating, right? So because of something that happened in a past event, it keeps playing back over and over and over again in our mind, and then becomes the truth. When it was actually just because of one event, but we view that person because of that one incident that we've seen them. Even if the person has done like 100 of good deeds, but one bad incident, you'll just mar the person's impression, right? And that's that. And so I think, I told them, why don't you give feedback to these people? And it could be really just a misunderstanding and that you felt that way. So that was what I did. I actually talked to people like that. So of course, some of them may be caught by surprise because I may have thought that I built a relationship with them, to be honest, and they may still feel uncomfortable hearing such things from me, right? Yeah. But I think after a while, they all know who I am and they know that it's for their good. Most people really still take my advice quite well, I would have to say. Yeah.
Great. So feedback is something very interesting, and when I coach leaders, they struggle with that a lot, right? Because the main reason why they don't give feedback is because they don't want to break the relationships or sour the relationships. What is your view on that?
So for me, I give feedback. In fact, because I'm a person who strives to deliver good results. I will always deliver results, but not at the expense of relationship or backstabbing and things like that. So for me, being able to deliver is very, very important. I have high expectations of my team's performance in order for me to deliver. So even though I'm friendly to them, but I'm also very demanding. They know that about me. Yeah. So whenever I see someone who is falling behind, I will actually go up to them. I understand. I won't scold them. I'll go up to them and really just understand whether there's any issues they're facing, any challenges they're facing, and ask how I can help. Because I think that's how I can then help my team to flourish and to blossom, right? And to me, those are important feedback. But I don't wait until mid-year review or end of year review. I give feedback as and when I see it happening, as and when I think it needs to be done. So to be honest, my mid-year and year-end review are just chit-chatting sessions. Because all the feedback has really been given as and when it should be given, rather than wait till the official session, which is mid-year or end of the year. And they know, and they all know that my feedback is not meant to be personal. So I did tell them, I want to just let you know about this so that we can all see how we can help each other. I can help you to look into your challenges. And if it's really too much work and you're struggling, then we can see how we can reprioritize and how we can, reallocate the work, right? But if it's really about some personal issues, then we can think about other things. So understand why something is happening, why they're not performing. There are many reasons why people don't perform. I also have instances where someone don't perform just because they have been always doing the same thing. They just don't really want to change, Right. And so when I ask them, do you know why you're doing this? I don't know. I just follow what's been done in the past, So to me, I feel that if you keep continuing with the status quo, it's actually very hard for you to improve or to even deliver good results. I encourage people to challenge the status quo. So I encourage them to have this innovative approach or entrepreneurial spirit. That's what they say, Always think of opportunities to improve your processes. Always think of opportunities to improve yourself, And so feedback is where you tell them, oh, there are other, what have you thought of these other ways you can improve yourself? And at the end of the day, they all understand that all this feedback will help them in their professional work. You will help them to become a better staff or a better team leader and take on as a leader. Right. So so to me, I do not hesitate to give difficult feedback. But of course, I think the tone that you give feedback is very important, right? And the timing of the feedback is very important, as I said just now. You have to make sure that the tone is right. I try to still have that nurturing tone. Like just like a mother asking the son, are you okay, son? That kind of thing. Are you okay, son?
True. Yeah,
that nurturing approach, right? That's what they say. Sometimes female bosses can be nurturing, right? So that nurturing way of asking, not scolding them or not pointing fingers at them. So I think when we give feedback in this way and on a timely manner, it is helpful to people. And once they see that it is helpful and useful for them, they'll be very receptive to this. I think most people will welcome feedback. In fact, I think a lot of people felt that they wanted feedback, but nobody wants to give them honest feedback.
Yeah,
to be honest, how honest are all your mid-year and final year review? They're all just motherhood statements.
Paper exercise. And because we forget, we can't remember 2-3 weeks ago.
Yes. And you know what? A lot of people tell me, I don't want to document all these negative things officially because I don't know how it's going to reflect on this person eventually.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. So things like that as well. And so at the end of the day, and when you say, can you get someone to give you a peer feedback? You'll find someone who they have been working very closely with, right? Yeah. Because they only want to have good feedback.
Good ones, yes. Yeah.
So I did tell them it's good to have good feedback because you need to know where you've done well, right? Your strength. Yeah. You need to appreciate your strength. We also need to recognize celebrate wins and and appreciate the strength and the effort that our team has done. But also at the same time, you also need to understand from whoever you're working with, what are the areas you can improve in. Yeah. So those are important.
Thank you. I think you really nipped it in the butt when it comes to feedback. Most people struggle with it, and a lot of times they hold it off. So I've coached MNC leaders that hold it off to a point where, don't worry, I'll do it in a one-on-one time. Then I asked them in the one-on-one time, do you actually share? I forgot already. It was too small. It seems too petty already if I bring it up so long ago, right? So for you, feedback has to be as fast as possible. Any other things that you talk about, and also in terms of tone, it has to be not like I'm scolding you, but actually more of a nurturing tone. Anything else when it comes to tips for feedback?
I think the other common tip is really just to be very factual, right?
Yes.
Just state the facts and don't put in your opinions and your judgments in it. Just state the facts when you give feedback. I think that's really important. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, that's a whole lesson by itself. I want to hear from you. Like, I hear you say this word a lot. How can I help you? How can we help you as a team? Help sometimes doesn't go with leader, right? Sometimes I think most people, they won't use the word help, say, just do this, right? Why can't you do this? It's an interesting use of words. Why use help?
Because it's really help. I guess I'm a very direct person. I just use the words I feel reflects what actually is.
Right.
So I'm really there to help them. And in fact, when I help them, I'm actually helping myself.
Definitely.
Right? I need my team to help me to deliver my results.
Yeah.
So when I help them to deliver their own smaller results, I'm delivering my big results. So in a way, when I help them, I'm actually helping myself. And that to me is help, right? And I guess why I'm using the word help so much is also because I guess in the volunteer world, we're really helping our beneficiaries quite a lot. And so that's a word that sort of stays with me for a very, very long time. You know, how are you going to help your beneficiaries when you talk to them? You know? So it's a word I use so frequently and regularly that I don't even know that I'm using so regularly.
But it's actually rare. And one interesting thing is that I think the word help helps to bring people in to know that, the whole idea of leaders is that sometimes two schools of thought, we know everything. The other one is that you just listen to us, we know everything. The other one is that actually I don't know everything, I need your help, and that's why you're my team. Right. And it helps. I think the word help also gives them that ownership and gives them that ability to say that, oh, I'm empowered to actually help my boss.
Yes. Yeah, I think that empowerment is very good. Yeah. And I think it's very important. That to me is also one of my values, empowerment. I do actually empower my team and encourage them, as I said just now, to actually really think out the box and challenge the status quo. Because I may not know exactly what they're doing with their work, right? So I will need them to really come to me and tell them, hey, boss, I'm thinking we can do this in another way. Can we try this out? And that's why I've been encouraging them. I said, don't worry if you try out and it doesn't work. I'm here for you, right? I think that's an environment that we need to set for the whole team. That you have the opportunity and you have the willingness and the courage to take risks and to fail. Because only when you take risks and you fail, that's where you learn, and that's how you can deliver results.
Yeah, so it's a very interesting paradigm when it comes to this idea of innovation and this whole idea of efficiency. Efficiency, you can't really fail because you just make things faster, 1.1 times, 1.2 times. But innovation is littered with failures.
Yeah.
Right. So for you to actually share that, hey, come on, let's try out an entrepreneurial spirit, entrepreneurial approach. Mei Yen, there's a lot of failures that's happening. How do you actually deal with that?
Well, we move on. We learn and we move on, because every failure is a learning opportunity for us, right? You know, in the Chinese saying that 失败乃成功之母, right? So every time you fail, that's a step towards a success. So that's why I tell them there's no need to be afraid of failures. It's all part and parcel of winning the game.
Yes,
if you don't fail, you can't win. I think maybe there are a few lucky ones who never have to fail and they can still win. But I don't think everyone is that lucky. So just accept that as part and parcel of that path towards victory.
So when there's failures that happened, and because sometimes when there's failures, we waste resources, we waste time and effort. And sometimes our bosses will look at us and say, why do you even try that out? How do you actually handle that when it comes to, because you gave your team empowerment to do that, but then yet there are certain things that we want to deliver. How do you actually play both sides? Need to understand, need to explain to the upper management, but yet also explain to the lower management, our team members that actually it's okay to fail.
So it all really depends on what is that nature of work that you're doing, right? Before I actually try to do that, I will also make sure that my bosses knows what I'm doing. And my bosses knows that I'm also encouraging my team to try new things. But of course, if it's something so time critical and really need to deliver, then, we may not try to be innovative at this point of time. We will still make sure that we go all out to deliver what it's supposed to deliver. And after that, we can think of how do we improve this when we have a bit of time in between. It's always important to prioritize our work. Otherwise, my team will not have to sleep and it won't be able to finish everything. But there are times when I have to be. I say I have great teams. They work very, very long hours just to make sure that they can deliver, and sometimes even trying out new things in the process of delivering. Because you know how it is when we implement certain things, right? If you implement certain things with a certain way and you want to come back to change it subsequently, it takes a lot more effort. And and so sometimes even during implementation, you must really think of what are other ways we can do, or what is the implication of this on our subsequent work, and how is this going to affect other people? So we think of all these things up front. So we try to brainstorm all the potential challenges and issues up front, even before implementation. Yeah, and that's the innovation part. Not like, okay, this is something very similar to what I've been doing, I just do it the same way. No, right? Every single thing that you do, there's always a different way of doing it.
But that's very good. Interesting that you have that approach, because that's more on innovation than efficiency.
Correct.
And you're actually encouraging that. And that's interesting because I think a lot of people, a lot of leaders out there, the more they actually encourage these kind of things, the more they might feel out of control for certain things.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, sometimes my staff will come back and tell me, I have no time to think of all this innovation. Can we just stick to what we've been doing?
Yeah.
It's so much faster, right?
Exactly.
Than to try to think about different things and try to think of new ways and think of how it's going to implicate other people and other processes downstream.
Right.
But I said, why don't you try this time around? Yeah. And after a few tries, you realize that actually by doing all this thinking up front, I'm helping to save a lot of my time and a lot of my effort and a lot of my work downstream. And so then they see the benefit of having this innovative and put on that thinking cap earlier on rather than later on, and to constantly thinking of how can they improve what they're doing. Because by improving their processes, by thinking of new ways, by also thinking of other implications up front, you are saving your time subsequently.
Yes.
And once you see that, you start to do that all the time without me asking. They will do that themselves. Yeah.
Fantastic. So you actually.
Yeah. So that's what I always try to do. Encourage them to try. And once you know how good it is, you don't need me to encourage you and to tutor you anymore.
Fantastic. It's almost like you are instilling in them the empowerment to try out different things, so that you are actually leveraging their innovation, their basically their brilliance to actually improve overall, rather than everything comes from you. They're actually suggesting different things.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, not all the time can they come up with new things. They will tell me, boss, I really don't know. How? I mean, I really don't know. I've never done this before. So that's where I would still step in. I'll just give a bit of my perspective.
Yeah.
And then once they hear my perspective, they will start to think, and then they'll come up with their perspective as well. So I guess we will have to still get our hands dirty. So I'm not someone who says, okay, now take this and run. Take this piece of innovation and go and think about it yourself. I won't. I sit down in the same room as them, and we brainstorm together as a team.
Right.
So if they're stuck, I'm there to sort of give them a bit of push, give them a bit of an idea so that they can unblock themselves. That's what I do. And it has been working.
Fantastic. So if I were to give an analogy, like, if our team members are like plants, right? And they say this thing, it's not so much of the culture of the organization, but the culture of the team trumps the culture of the organization. It can be the same different teams in that same organization. 5 different teams all have different cultures.
Exactly.
Right. Because the greenhouse is different, and the greenhouse is very much controlled by some of the values that you want, as the leader, you want to see. So if I ask you, in this greenhouse and where all your plants are your team members, what are some almost some values or principles that you abide by when it comes to really trying to build your team up for results and also the relationships?
Yeah, so I think some of them I've already alluded just now. So I was thinking about this earlier today, and I came up with this acronym called CREAM.
Okay,
CRAM, CREAM. Okay,
CREAM.
So CREAM in C means contribute. Okay, so I think a team is as strong as the weakest link. Everyone needs to play a part. If one person were to slack, it will affect everyone else, because then the rest will say, oh, since this person can slack, then I can slack. Why should I be performing to my 150% and that person is just working 60%? And an entire team will then just not perform well. Right. And so it affects the morale, affects the motivation of everyone. So everyone needs to be contributing. Right? Second one is respect. So really respectful towards each other, no harsh words, constructive feedback to each other. I encourage them to give feedback to each other as well, not just me to them, but also them to each other. So I've got actually the more senior people in the team giving feedback to the more junior ones, to help each other. So that's what I do. And really just be respectful, even if someone comes up with an idea, an opinion that's totally different from yours and you totally disagree, you just have to sometimes be respectful and agree to disagree, right? So respect. So the E is empathy, right? So to have empathy towards everyone. So not just think about ourselves, but think about us as an organization, as a team, right? And think win-win, put yourself in everybody's shoes. And so, as I said, so think about how your action and your behavior, your speech is going to affect other people. So, and then A is agility and adaptability. Right? So I think in a team, especially in this VUCA world that we have, you got to be agile, you got to be adaptable. You can't just stick to the status quo and can't just conform. So always be willing to change. Always be curious, right? Open to new ideas. Have an open and growth mindset. Right. So I think that's important. And the last
one, I hear that a lot in terms of your growth mindset about always trying to improve and giving them the empowerment to improve.
Yeah.
So that we can actually take on this VUCA world.
Correct. The last one, M, is motivation. So I think you need to motivate yourself and to motivate each other. And so the entrepreneurial mindset, right, of being able to take your own initiative, to have this self-starting behavior, and to actually work collegially with each other as well, those are very important because you want to motivate yourself to do your best. So I always tell them, no matter whether it's a small task or a big task, or whether it will affect your rating or not, just do your best. Do your best in whatever you do, right? And then motivate yourself, right? So then also motivate your team. If you feel that someone on your team is feeling down or is demoralized because of certain things, just go to them and motivate them. And I think a team who cares for each other will work well together and it can perform well as a team.
Oh, thank you so much. That's CREAM is an acronym that encompasses your leadership style and all that.
Yes, yeah.
So if I were
to be the cream of the crop.
Fantastic. So I think when one question I also have is that sometimes as leaders we see ourselves as a different identity. Right. So for example, just now you mentioned a little bit more motherly when it comes to trying to do feedback. If there were some identities that you kind of like feel that actually this is my style of leadership, right? Or what would some of those be?
Yeah. So, I think one of those, my key one is really authenticity. Yeah. To be authentic. So I think I've said this many, many times that my key belief as a leader is to be authentic to ourselves and to be authentic to the people around us in whatever we do and whatever we say. Yeah. So that to me is the key. The other one is really empathy, right? Empathetic towards other people, to be understanding and to be mindful of what you say and what you do, especially as a leader, right? I mean, as a leader, what comes up from your mouth has got a lot of implications on people's perception and on people's beliefs and people's ideas. Just to bring another example, I was just talking to one of my colleagues the other day, and then he was just saying that, I work like 48 hours a day, and I'm very proud of it. But because he's also leading another team, and when we say this out to his team members, his team member feels very stressed.
Sorry. He was working for 48 hours?
Yeah, he says every day I work 48 hours.
But you okay, so a bit of exaggeration.
Yeah. So I mean, he's just saying how much work he has, but then
got it.
He's still happy. He's enjoying his work, right? And he says, I work 48 hours a day. He say with zest, right?
Can be uncomfortable to the rest of them.
Yes. Yeah. So when the rest heard it, because he's a leader as well in the organization, and some of them felt like, are you expecting me to work 48 hours a day too?
Yeah. it's the silent expectation, right?
Although he doesn't mean it at all,
Yeah.
it really just set in zest because he really enjoys his work so much that he doesn't mind putting so much, even not sleeping just to finish whatever he's so passionate about, right? But so that's how sometimes we just be mindful of how we say things because even though it may mean something very well, you may not mean something mean or something bad, but that's not how people will perceive it, right? So that to me is important. And I think the last one is really to empower your staff. As a leader, it's important that you empower the staff because someone who feels empowered will feel that, okay, I've got control over what I'm doing, and I feel a sense of satisfaction doing what I'm doing. And that sense of satisfaction will push them to do more, right? Because you feel satisfied with what you're doing. And that's what sort of push them to do better in what they're doing as well. And that's how we create good teams who can deliver and at the same time like each other, which I think is important.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So those are the key values I have.
Okay. So that's like another acronym, AEE. Different one.
Yeah.
All right, Mei Yen, thank you so much. I think just in terms of some parting words when it comes to this idea, and a lot of leaders will be listening to this, and a lot of leaders find it very challenging because one of the most challenging to do is to lead a team, right? I can do my own work as an individual contributor, no issue, right? But then now I lead a team, and the team is made up of people who are so difficult to understand. Right. And what is just one thing that you can encourage leaders that are really trying to find that balance between results and relationships, but they kind of skew towards one side and they're struggling?
I would say just be true to yourself and be yourself. Yeah. And some people may prefer results over relationships. Some may prefer relationships over results. You can't you can't dictate that when you must do one over the other because it really depends on your own beliefs. But I think believe in who you are, right? And believe that whatever you're doing is for the best for yourself and for the people around you. Whatever happens next, your conscience is clear. And I think that's most important, to have your own beliefs in what you are doing. Because there's no right or wrong answer in whatever we do in this world.
Yeah,
and things keeps changing. Even if it's right now, it doesn't mean it's right tomorrow. It doesn't mean it's right next year. So always have some key principles and then stick to what you believe in. And as long as you're true to yourself and to the people around you, I don't think you'll go too far from there.
All right. Thank you so much, Mei Yen. So we come to the end of the interview. And for you guys listening in, stay tuned to the Leadership Journal to listen to more tips and also advice on how to become the leader that everybody wants to follow. With that, thank you so much, Mei Yen, for your time.
Thank you so much, Jason.
Thank you. Take care.
And thank you, everyone, for listening.
Yeah. Stay tuned and you'll find other materials you can see in the links below.